Anyway, let's get into what's bothering us for the week. Well, I'm gonna let you run off with the first one.
Well, what's bothering me for the week was here was the weather last week. It was too cold. There was too much snow. Too many pipes busted. Got too expensive, and I think a lot of people on the East Coast feel my pain. Everybody's thawing out and getting their heating bills paid, their water bills paid. Their plumber is eating well this week. His or her cabinets are certainly stocked for the Super Bowl because we have paid that bill for them. So, I hope everybody's comfortable. But in tech this week, if I was to pick something that bothers me, it was the assumption still that everybody wants AI. I'm seeing that everywhere because we had the earnings reports and we had a few more earnings reports this week. And I think Apple might be the one that gets this right so far. Apple is just not talking about AI. And I get it, we're a Microsoft podcast, but I'm not against using an Apple product or seeing their point of view. Apple is always late to the party on most big things. But my brother and I used to have a statement because we used to be big Apple fans. When Apple shows up to the party, they're where they're supposed to be. They do it right. And it's bugging me that we continue to talk about it, but Apple is sitting over there. We're just waiting on you to decide that AI is not going to be the big thing everybody wants. But when we enter, we're going to show you what everybody wants. I just want to know what that is.
It's a good question. To your point about Apple being late, and this is kind of a little bit of a tiny rant, and then I'll get into my bigger one. I've been watching, YouTube and watching everyone trip over themselves about the new iPhone Fold. We're supposed to be getting sometime this year. I
Right?
don't know, don't really buy it, but we were supposed to be getting an Apple Car for 10 years. We never got that. But if we do get the Fold, what they're saying is that Apple is coming in potentially with a booklet style foldable. And it's very frustrating. It's been very upsetting to me watching everyone talk about this is the form factor they want when the Surface Duo set right there. Now I get it, it's not a single screen,
I hear you.
but the form factor is right there. And Google sort of flirted with it with the first Fold. And I'm going to be very frustrated and upset if Samsung backtracks and goes with the booklet style and Google backtracks and goes with the booklet style, because I think that inherently was the design. I don't understand why phones got taller versus being a little bit wider, because the desktop paradigm for most people is wider. Even Microsoft's 3.2 is wider and a little bit taller, but it's wider still at the base. Apple's 16 by 10 is wider, a little bit taller, but wider. And instead, phones just got taller and skinnier. And then all of the development for these apps became tall and skinny. So when you look at Instagram, it's built for tall and skinny. And it's going to be interesting to see when everyone starts to backtrack for shorter and wider, putting more on the screen in the side spaces, in the empty spaces, in the horizontal than they are in the vertical, because that's what could have saved potentially the Surface Duo. Part of its issue, aside from the fact that it was two different screens, and it had, again, I'm not making any excuse for it, it had very bad buggy software. They fixed a lot of it in the Surface Duo too, but the initial one was that the apps were always cut off because they were designed for the longer aspect ratio. And Apple's going to come in and say, all right, everybody, take your iPad apps, which again were built in a square, not a rectangle, a square, and put them there. And everyone's going to be like, oh, that's where we need to go. And then you're going to start to slowly see development go into that square, less of the vertical rectangle. And I just felt like we could have done this.
And I promise I won't take all the time. I feel like this is where mobile is stuck.
Yeah.
And I feel that for two reasons. I don't think the foldable phone will be adopted until Apple does it.
Unfortunately.
All right. And I don't think the right or wrong aspect ratios for apps or how apps should be done or shouldn't be done is adopted or changed until Apple does it. You know, truth be told, Apple owns the market share on mobile devices. There's reasons they're $1 trillion company, and the MacBook is not the only one. Um, iPhone leads the charge. The iPhone App Store and the revenue there leads the charge. I get that. But that leads me to a question or a thing that I ponder often. When does the phone industry do something new? Because Samsung's got a trifold out. It's expensive. Nice looking phone. Wouldn't mind trying it out. Wouldn't mind using it. Probably wouldn't mind owning one of them. But nothing sticks until Apple does it. So what will happen is Apple will do the folding phone. The folding phone will stick. Samsung will come out next year with, look at this, the new folding phone, and it'll be the way Apple did it, and we'll be stuck in that rut again. Samsung will come out with something new again, and it will be a nice product. Google may come out with something new again. It'll be a nice product. But we've got to, I guess, what upsets me, I didn't want to say what first came to mind there. What upsets me is we have to wait until Apple does it to agree that something new is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not going to belabor the point, but last bit and put a period on this. It's the ecosystem. They're going to create their foldable, and everybody's going to rush to make things forward, to make it accommodative. But
Yep.
right now there's very little as far as in-dash setups and holders for the Galaxy Folds or the One Plus, whatever. There's not like an inherent, like they've jerry-rigged some things where you can like put your thing up to make it a secondary screen or whatever. Most cars have it in there. I'm sure as soon as Apple comes out, everyone's going to have some kind of magnetic thing that you can just plop your screen onto, and it sticks and stays, and you can use it in your car. They're going to have cases that make it more accessible, because currently the only way you can design a case for the Fold is you have the back covered and a little bit around the edges on the front, and it just makes the Fold bulky. I'm sure everyone's going to come out with different types of cases and things like that make living with a foldable much easier. And people are just going to be like, duh, this is how it always should have been. Your Apple friend's going to be like, here's my foldable, and it's got all these accessories with it. And you're going to be like, I've had a Samsung Fold for the last 4 generations, and all I could barely get was a slightly thinner case to put on the outside of it that doesn't really do very much. Aside from that, my actual thing that I'm bragging about is video editing software.
I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to go for it.
Making the transition, partially because I feel like I'm forced to. I do some video editing on a Mac, and I had Adobe on there. And now, because of whatever version that the update is out for, version 20.6 or something like that, it won't update on this computer, no matter what I do. It won't. So, and I've gone back to use an older version, and that was working until last night. And now that one won't update or be even open. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. That is my sign from above to be like, I'm done. Hallelujah. I'm done with Adobe. I'm moving to DaVinci Resolve. I've played with it. I've used it. I would have went to Filmora, but they were like, here's a watermark for the free version, and you have to pay $60 a year, which is not bad for the full version. I'm like, well, I'm still currently paying for this month of Adobe, so I'm not going to give another $60 out. I'm just going to wait till the month's over. Let me go to some free software. I went to DaVinci. My problem with DaVinci is that there's no real way to go between devices. Now, I used to be able to use OneDrive. It was my go-to. I would save a file if I was using Filmora or Adobe or CapCut or something. I'd save it in OneDrive in a folder, and then I'd pull it down on my next computer and start using it. As far as I can tell for DaVinci, it's like it's all local, and they have a cloud, the Blackmagic Cloud option, but I can't seem to save anything into that black cloud that I could use on a different device. Now, and they also don't make it very easy when it comes to using templates or anything like that, creating like an intro or an outro or using graphics or anything like that. It's all very piecemeal, and I get it. It's free software that's very powerful. But if you're just trying to make the transition or make the jump to, I think they need to either have an interface that allows people who are coming from different platforms to be acquainted with it, or some kind of tie-in, some kind of plugins to be like, hey, here are the If you're used to using, graphics for intros, graphics for transitions, things like that, here's a section for that. Right now, it doesn't seem like they have that. And again, maybe the full version does. I think full version has a few more things, but I'm trying to create an intro. And I spent 2.5 hours last night of what I could have been doing as far as editing an actual video, just looking for ways to find a template, download it, and then reopen it in DaVinci. It is very hard. So all of you out there laughing, pointing fingers at me like, you suck, and here's the easy ways.
No.
Please give me the tips. I will take your condemnation, but I need the tips.
No, I know we need to move on, but I'm gonna give you 2 words here. Clipchamp. And no, hold on.
Okay.
I opened up Clipchamp a couple of weeks ago to do something simple for a friend because he looked at me and he says, try Clipchamp. I'm like, and I had the same reaction you just did. I'm like, let me open this funny wannabe video editor. I opened it up and I accomplished what he needed in about 5 minutes. And I went, okay. So I went back in there last weekend when I was freezing and in the snow and all this good stuff. And I threw one of my videos in there. And I kind of started putting it together. And it kind of started making sense.
Okay.
And I went, all right. You got your video track, your music track, your AI is over on the left-hand side. They're giving you templates while you're working of how about this. Okay. So they see me working on an audio track. They pop up my AI audio options that are free over here. Okay, let me drag this over here. No, okay, that works. All right, we're getting somewhere. What about special effects? It pops up. Hey, we see you, put in 2 clips. Would you like a transition here? Pick one. All right, let's do that. We've got an intro, we've got an outro, a transition. Let's see what happens when we render this. Let's just see what happens. So I'm on a Snapdragon laptop. I go to render it, and it says, of course, it's a Microsoft product. Would you like to save it to OneDrive, or where would you like to put it? And it offers me YouTube, TikTok, Google Drive, Dropbox. I think there was another one in there. I'm like, all right, well, we're going to do this the Microsoft way. I'll save it to my OneDrive account. Just see what happens. Of course, there's the local option down there for the local PC. So I do that. And it starts rendering. And this was probably, my buddy had a 40-minute video. And we had added a few little effects in there. So I expected it to take some time. 40-minute video, it comes up 15-minute render time. I'm like, that can't be right. That's too high. That's not low enough. Or too high, rather. And I go over to Task Manager. What do I see? My Snapdragon GPU is being utilized. So I let it render. The product I got was very good. Where did it fall short? The API is limited in the upload speed to OneDrive. There's about a 20-25 meg limit there. So your time is taken back away from you at the end if you upload to OneDrive. Because I'm like, I've got a gig up, my gig down. I'm like, I'm much faster than this. So I'm checking Wi-Fi and I'm like, let me just ask AI what's going on here.
Well, here's the question then. Here's a workaround. Could you use your local OneDrive storage, like in your file explorer? So you pin something to quick access in your OneDrive.
Right.
It says local. You save it to that folder, which is still OneDrive, but it isn't through their
API
connection. Yeah.
I haven't tried that. I thought about that. I haven't tried that, but I'm gonna go back in. He's gonna come back this weekend and wants me to do a little something else for him. So I'm gonna try it that way.
All right. You got to give us a follow up next week.
But yeah, I'll be glad to, because I was pleasant, and I have not opened OneDrive in at least a year. OneDrive. Clipchamp in at least a year. So, I know there's been updates. We've talked about it, but I was pleasantly surprised to what I opened up to. Is it Premiere? No. Is it DaVinci Resolve? No. But the integration of AI, keeping up with your workflow, and what it allows you to do quickly, simply, and easily, and the slow but subtle prompt for do you want AI to do this was on point. I've got to give Microsoft credit here. Yes, this is a Microsoft topic on a Microsoft podcast.
There we go. Bringing it back
I've
around.
got to give them credit here. This is
All right.
pretty well executed.